thing about the snatch is, I mean, you want to work from the floor up, but sometimes it's almost better to go backwards. So if you go, your finishing point is going to be like this. I mean, your chest is going to be high. You're going to be pulling up. This is where you want to be. If you go backwards from there, you're here. So you go.
So it's almost touching your hips. So when
well, think about an object. If I said, hey, carry this, the farther you get the weight away from you, the heavier it feels. More your leverage.
The more horizontal movement you do in the movement, the more less efficient you are.
Yeah, and your center of gravity, the difference between using your body and the bars, now you're two masses together.
Right. You're making.
So if I put this down, I just jump. Normally, you run and you go like this, and you should be able to draw a line through the body, and that's a perfectly balanced, and then you jump. Well, as soon as you have an object, especially in sport, you jump. It's not jumping. You follow it. So a lot of times when people will snatch, they'll start stepping forward, and if you don't see people missing behind them a lot. Usually, if you do, they're usually pretty good lifters, and they'll miss behind because they're just off a little bit. So again, the whole thing is you want to get into this position, so it's a little unnatural that you're taking an object and trying to get into a jump position because it's constantly pulling you forward. So the thing that happens if you start off the floor fast, there's very few lifters, good ones, that will do that, is when you start, as soon as I lift forward, usually what happens is the head will move forward. You go this way. You'll see also some people will sit there and they'll lever out and they'll kick up right away.
Right.
You don't want that either. Ideally what you do is you have your shoulders and your hips, and they raise at exactly the same rate. And what happens is you're literally pulling back like my toes are almost up. You feel a lot of the weight on your heels, so you start coming back. Once you get past your knees, you should really feel your hamstrings starting to like tighten up. Like, oh, my hamstrings for me, they're tight. So what happens if I'm going like, oh, I want to get vertical and my hamstrings are tight, you'll naturally get here. Right?
Yep.
And then from there, it's just jump, and it'll pop up, and you want to keep it close. And then you have a snap and turn.
That's the other part where I have trouble is like actually loosening up my arms at this point. Once you generate that pop, I want to like keep my elbows out and keep them locked. And so I end up throwing it in front of me.
Yeah, and they have to bend.
I know, and that's the thing. It's like I want to drive it into my head to do it, and I go over it mentally, but then I forget, and like right when I'm in the movement, it's so quick that I automatically revert right to it, and I go boom like that instead of going.
Yeah, you see a lot of people, and they'll keep their arms straight, so they'll end up pulling like this, and then they'll end up doing this. You know, and sometimes you get it. I mean, I remember having a PR in a meet where I was like this. Like pulling back super hard and looking up, and I end up going, and swinging out, and it just happens to be that it landed in the right place. It was horrible lifting. I would do exercises as you're getting warming up. You know, your first movement is like your ass just comes back, and then just pull, and just just have to follow the body.
Just to have it as close to the body as possible.
Yeah. And once you go like this, like as soon as you boom, that's it, you need to go into your next phase, which is the snapping. Your feet and your wrists should snap together. So if I go down here, like you should see the hands and the feet snap at the same time. I don't keep it this close. Like some people, they do such a good job, it literally just floats by them. And the other thing is when you drop back down, you don't want to drop forward like this. Okay? Because what happens is you go like this, and you have to lever. You have to swing this out to get your head around. So it should be right along your face. And your body will drop down. So you're pretty much straight, and your body's going straight down.
Okay.
Like that. So important things. Starting from the bottom, so you know I want to be in this position, this is where I want to jump from. To get in that position, your first pull, if you do something wrong, it'll get you out of position, try to correct it. And then once you get past your knees and you're still out of position, then it gets like extremely difficult. So things you want to think about is I would go really, really slow off the floor to start out with. And if you videotape yourself do that, the first thing you should have is when I get up, see all my shins? It's almost vertical.
Yeah.
If I was more flexible, like I'm completely tight now. I mean, it's not me, like I'm staying tight. It's like my body's tight. I have no more flexibility than this. So as you're coming up, if you go, and you see my knees out in front of my toes, I'm out of position. You need to be pulling back. That's when you're keeping the hands back, so the weight is behind your shoulders because you want to be close to your center of gravity. And once I get past my knees, my hamstrings start getting tight, I can start to get straight. And here I am in my jumping position. And I'm going to finish high with my chest up. But once I hit there, and sometimes people will hear, once you hit that, boom, you're in your next phase. You shouldn't do this. I mean,
that's what I end up doing. I know I do in my head, and I try to. I'm trying to break myself up. Maybe it's doing those warm-ups where you're talking about the pulls and just rushing it up against myself. I don't know. It's more of a mental thing.
Yeah. And there's certain things that you can do. You can do like muscle snatches and things like that. Where you're literally, you come up and you're literally making your body go through that motion. But ideally, once you're here, boom, you don't have to have your feet. You want to get into your second part. So you're a catapult and then you're a table. Catapult. What you don't want to do is that transition in between is usually what screws people up. You pull too long. The longer you pull, higher it goes. But as soon as you go, you're like, I'm done pulling, and you go down, it's going down too. So you're getting crushed. Yeah. All right.
Hey, quick thing. What's going on with the guy who wanted training?
Oh, I told him. I said I'd have Chacon call him.
Okay.
And we'll see if that's him, because I can call him back and say, I just didn't want to be on the phone for a long time going, trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So he's in Snatch. Oh,